On this channel, I try not giving my personal takes too much. I gotta be fair, can't be biased. After all, I'm a car reviewer. When it comes to Audi though, that's a bit of a different story. Because I grew up with the B8, B8.5 in high school and college, and then the B9 and B9.5 as I entered my 30s. It has not been an easy transition when it comes to the B10. Maybe I'm getting old in life. Maybe I don't like new technology. Maybe I don't like new designs. Possibly it's all downhill for me from here on out. But I believe the B10 is not a direct successor to the B9.5. In fact, I think it's something very, very different, and I wonder if you guys think the same as well. In today's video, we're going to check out what the new B10 S5 has to offer us. We're going to check out the exterior, the interior, take it out for a quick test drive, and see why this is not the Audi S4 that you knew in high school or college. Now, before we get in this video, I want to give a huge shout and a thank you to Audi Peabody in Peabody, Massachusetts for letting me come down here to check out the new Audi S5. Their link will be in the description below, so you can check out their extensive Audi inventory. So as always, let's begin with that pricing. For the 2025 Audi S5 Prestige we have today, you're looking at a starting cost of just over $70,000. Now, much like we saw with the B9 and B9.5, the Prestige is the top trim for this model year, giving you a better lighting system for the exterior. Also, an interactive display when you do approach this car late at night. The Matrix Design LED headlights does add some definition to the front fascia of this car. You'll also receive better technology for the interior and more creature comforts and amenities that might be speaking to a lot of new Audi buyers in the 2020s. Whereas if you're like myself and you grew up with the B6, B7, B8, and B9, this is going to take some time to get used to. But as you take a look at the exterior and you see the fact you have an S5 badge and there is no A4 anymore, this is the first time in 6 generations that there is no A4 or S4 in the lineup. And this is part of the whole new alphanumeric system from Audi, which is kind of confusing us all because the A3, A5, and A7 would be gas powered, and then the A4, A6, and presumably A8 are all part of the e-tron lineup, which is confusing buyers, and I think it's confusing Audi now as well. However, what we have here with the S5 is a car that is somewhat of a sportback because it is going to be practical, but then in a way kind of looks like an S4 as well. So there's some confusion here out of this car and what it actually wants to be. But aesthetically, for the exterior, it takes a lot of design elements from the A5, nothing too different in that way. You can have an aggressive front grille here. It's not a mesh grille, which I wish we had from the B9 and B9.5, but there are a few things I would change up here on this model. One being the fact that we need that S5 badge on the grille, much like we saw with last generation. Audi, for some reason, is not putting the badge number on the grille, and it's just, I don't know. That's something I would like to see Audi bring back. Now, we also have some brushed aluminum accents here, which you have to go with the black optic package for this car. I noticed that S5s with the black optic look so much better and doesn't really stick out as much as we have here today. Now, we also have the Matrix Design LED headlights giving us better visibility at night or in adverse weather conditions, and it also looks sleek and appealing as well. For the lower portion of the front bumper, you have more air ducts here to cool off that V6 is powering this model, so it does look very aerodynamic and sporty. And you have very, very aggressive side air intake, so you have more efficiency here on the highway, also more aerodynamic, more importantly. Now, as you make your way over to the side profile, this is where we have some things we need to talk about, because for our S5, we have the Edition 1 package, and this gives us this unique set of 20-inch alloy wheels and a multicolored design. Now, I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but there is some gold accents here in this wheel, and it shows, especially what I'm seeing right now, and it gives you some definition to the side profile. It does look pretty cool and unique. This package also gives you gloss black side mirror caps and gloss black door handles, giving you a two-tone look to this car. Now, we have a deeper blue for this model, so it does look kind of black altogether from the outside, but I like the lower profile appearance that we have here for this model. Also, we are going to have some gloss black trim that outlines the windows, again, giving us that two-tone look, that sleeker appearance. Now, as you make your way around to the back here, you're going to have this LED light bar that runs the length of the rear fascia. This is becoming very common in the Volkswagen Audi family. I will say, though, I do not like the rear fascia of the S5 at all. I really don't. In fact, the light bar works very well on the S5 Avant that we don't get here in the US, and I actually demand, I want that here in the US. If there's any Audi executives watching this video, I want that S5 Avant. It would be very cool. Now, we do have some gloss black badging for the S5 badge here. Then for the lower portion of the rear bumper, some more gloss black trim with your quad exhaust tips, which I have to say, one thing that Audi does really well is the sound of their sports cars. Let's take a listen. And then the last thing I want to point out here before we check out what's powering this model, we have anthracite badging here, part of the Edition 1 package, which does look kind of cool. But I want to know what you guys think. What are your thoughts on the design of the S5? Is this too far different compared to an S4 for the B9.5 or B9.5 for the S5? Let me know in the comment section below. Powering our S5 today is going to be a 3-liter turbocharged V6 engine. Producing 362 horsepower and 406 pound-feet of torque, it is paired with a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission. That is one of the bigger changes here for the B10 compared to the B9.5. No more ZF 8-speed, it's all 7-speed dual-clutch, which really is going to give you a lot more engagement here in a straight line when you are accelerating. And speaking of that, you're looking at a 0 to 60 time of around 4.3 seconds, so it is a rocket in a straight line. It is going to be very exhilarating in that way. Now, interestingly enough, we do not have a mild hybrid system for the B10. Audi believes that that is not a demand in the US and that there is no market for it, and yet BMW and Mercedes-Benz have mild hybrid systems. So I'm wondering as to why Audi chose that route. But even without a mild hybrid system, this car really isn't that bad on fuel economy. You're looking at right around 19 miles per gallon in the city and 28 miles per gallon on the highway, which isn't the worst in this class. So if you're looking for a fun daily driver that's also somewhat efficient, you are going to have that here with the S5. Hopping inside the B10 S5, this begins my belief that this is not a direct descendant of the B9 and B9.5, because if it was, it wouldn't feel Grand Tourer-like, and it wouldn't be designed like a luxury car. It would be more sports-tuned in its characteristics and its qualities. Now you're probably saying, wait a minute, Mike, you're sitting in sports seats. What are you talking about? Well, these sports seats, they're aggressive, they're comfortable, they're very supportive. When I look at the dashboard, when I look at the trim pieces, when I look at just the driving environment, this reminds me of a Grand Tourer. This is a luxury car with a fantastic motor under the hood. That's a Grand Tourer. This isn't an S4 of the old days. This is not an S5 Sportback either. This is something quite unique. What you're also going to notice too is that there's been a trim down on carbon fiber. So there's not a lot of that on the dashboard. In fact, this isn't even carbon fiber. It's more of just a trim piece here on the center console. You're also going to have some suede inserts or Alcantara inserts, but not as much as it was before. And that is one takeaway. That's one key takeaway that Audi has noted. Audi has noted this, that they need to get back to interior quality. And that is one thing that's lacking here from the B9.5 and most certainly lacking from the B8. Now in front of you will be a flat bottomed and flat top steering wheel, somewhat hexagonal-like. We're seeing a lot of this now from the Germans, but it's not as bad as what you have from BMW. No aggressive 10 and 2 or firm 9 and 3 grips, although the 9 and 3 grips do feel pretty natural here. You're going to paddle shift as a road to the gears yourself. Also front of you, which you guys know I'm not a huge fan of, is this full digital gauge cluster, which is kind of a far cry from Audi's virtual cockpit in the B9 and B9.5. Yes, you can adjust it to your liking. You can check out different information. There is somewhat haptic feedback buttons here where you can scroll through a variety of information, but it's not as intuitive as it once was. We do have a head-up display here, which is very easy to read. So nice clear view there, and that will keep your eyes on the road ahead of you rather than looking down at screens. Then as you take a look at the infotainment system, there's no longer physical buttons and dials to control your dual zone climate control up front. They'll all be found at the bottom of the screen for your 3-level heated and ventilated seats, dual zone climate control, AC, front and rear defrosters, fan speed, and fan direction. There's also a climate menu as well, found in a lot of cars these days in this class. Now you will have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility, and with the Google-based software here that we're seeing, this is where the intuitiveness has kind of been taken away from Audi's MMI user interface from last generation. On the left side of the screen will be quick access icons for your home screen, your navigation, your phone, and then of course your vehicle settings. Then you will have one tab here for all your widgets that will be in place. And from here you have navigation, radio, Sirius XM, phone, Android Auto. It's all right here. We see a lot of this now in this class, especially from BMW, but also Mercedes-Benz and other manufacturers that use Google integration for their vehicles and software. So this is not going to be too confusing in that way, but I think a lot of you, like myself, miss that old MMI user interface. Then as we take a look at the camera system, since we have the Prestige, a wide range of camera angles to choose from. Front-facing camera trajectory, rear backup camera trajectory, side views, it is all right here, giving you a lot of visibility when you are parking on city streets or backing out of a garage. Then continuing on, beneath the head unit, you are going to find two USB-C inputs, a 12-volt outlet, then your wireless phone charging pad here. For the center console itself, you have all this gloss black trim, which is going to be difficult to keep clean and maintain. You're going to have your drive mode selector for balance, dynamic, and comfort. I like balance mode. Balance mode is actually really nice. Dynamic really brings this car to life. Then you will have your auto start stop, your hazards, and then your traction control on and off, and then you will have your physical dial for the volume and tuning. Great to see. Then next to your gear shifter will be your park assist features and camera angles. Then two cup holders. For the center storage compartment, you are going to have enough room for some smaller items, maybe a couple wallets or smartphones here. Then to round out the front seating area, above will be a fixed panoramic sunroof, which brings in a lot of natural light to the interior. Then for passengers in the second row, you're looking at right around 35 inches of legroom, which really isn't that bad here. In fact, that falls right in line with Genesis G70 and BMW 3 Series. But 35 inches of legroom is not comparable to a crossover, which is why I think a lot of you would go with an SQ5 if you do need that interior space for a growing family, or if you have taller passengers sitting in the back at all times. But this is an S5. That's probably not going to be the case. When it comes to interior space, though, there's a good amount of legroom here. This seat is adjusted a little further back. It's also somewhat on a recline. I don't feel cramped or claustrophobic. Also, even with the panoramic glass roof here that we have, I don't think taller passengers will be hitting their head on the headliner. Now, there are a few things that do stand out to me, because you do have a rear sunshade. Not a lot of cars in this class provide that, so you can block out the haters, and also if it's sunny out, that sunlight isn't gleaming down on your screens. You will have two USB-C inputs to go along with two center-mounted air vents, and there will be heated outboard seats with the Prestige. And then to round out the second row seating area, you do get a center armrest with two cup holders. Now, as you make your way around to the back one more time to take a look at the rear cargo area, this is the one aspect where the S4 sedan and S5 Sportback blend into one car. So as expected, with this being a somewhat of a Sportback sedan, you are going to have a power trunk. And inside, behind the second row seat, you're looking at right around 22 cubic feet of room. So as you look at this car from the outside, it does look sedan-like. It doesn't look like an M440i, does it? Not at all. So this is kind of in a league of its own here. This is better than the BMW 3 Series, better than the Lexus IS, Alfa Romeo Giulia, Genesis G70, Cadillac CT4. So if you're someone who wants a sporty luxury car, but also some practicality, you want everything all in one package, the S5 kind of exhibits all of those qualities, and then some. So if you are going on a road trip with the family, I think you could probably fit 7, 8, 9, 10 bags of luggage back here with limited issues. You are going to have a cargo cover, which will keep all your valuable items out of sight. I have all my camera gear here, and there's plenty more room to maybe go grocery shopping afterwards. So a lot of interior space here with the S5. That's one of the strong suits here for this model. Now, obviously, you can lower the second row seats to maximize cargo space, but if practicality is a must-have, you would just go with the SQ5. Before we encounter the good roads for this test drive, it needs to be said that the B10 S5, maybe even the A5, feels like a completely different car compared to the B9, B9.5, maybe even the B8. Because those two generations that came before the B10 were built on the MLB platform. Now, some people could argue, well, Mike, what about the B5, B6, B7? Those were not built on the MLB platform, so are you telling me that the B8 and B9 were not direct successors? That's not what I'm saying here. With the B10, this is a completely different product, which is why I think there is a bit of a visceral reaction from Audi enthusiasts and purists, because this is not an S4. This is not an S5 Sportback. This is something very, very different. And can different be good? One thing I have learned here with this platform is that I don't like the Q5. The A5 is most certainly better with the PPC platform. And then the SQ5 was phenomenal. It felt like a Porsche Macan. With the S5 now, what I'm experiencing here is something a little new, something that's a bit more unique, something that feels a bit more BMW M340i inspired, and giving you a car that is somewhat more luxurious, while at the same time providing performance figures and performance capabilities that gives you the sense of confidence and gives you a sense that Audi has not lost their touch. Now, with this car, it's all going to come down to its design and technology. That's hurting a lot of people right now. A lot of people do not like the tech, including myself. But performance-wise, this is where you need to give this car a chance, because with the 3-liter V6, with the 7-speed dual-clutch automatic, this car, at least on paper, seems to be a fantastic sedan in the 2020s. But we're going to find out. One thing that Audi tends to do really well, though, is with their driving characteristics and also giving you a car that still feels athletic, while also providing some sense of class and sophistication. Audi has never really been, at least for the S line and the S performance packages that they have, those cars have never really been all-out performance monsters, right? Like, that is not a BMW M3 or M4 fighter. And with the S5, this is not an M3 or M4 fighter, but it's giving you a car that I think in some ways, and this might be sacrilegious, just looking at what Audi and Porsche are doing, this is in some way a smaller Porsche Panamera. This is not going to be as one-dimensional practicality-wise compared to an S4, but I wouldn't call this an S5 Sportback either. So this is, again, something completely different, something completely unique in the lineage for this particular product, and what the Audi A4, A5, S4, and S5 were all about. But enough of me rambling. Let's see what the performance is like as we enter the highway here. I am in sport mode, or dynamic mode, so let's have some fun. Impressive. That's really impressive. Now, there is a key difference here compared to the S5 Sportback from last generation. This is, without question, unarguably quicker than the B9.5. There's just a launch to this car when you get deep into the throttle that the B9.5 didn't necessarily have. Very quick car, fun car, one of my favorites that have ever come out in the modern age. But the B10 is a rocket in a straight line. Weight distribution wise here with the S5 really doesn't feel that much different than the A5 I had featured a couple of months ago. But even so, with the S5, there's a lot of weight beneath me, which is why this particular generation, in a way, feels a bit lost, because it doesn't know exactly what it wants to be. Performance-wise, I think it's a little bit better than the B9.5. I really do. Maybe not handling-wise. I think handling-wise is where Audi's kind of going in a different direction. But straight line speed? Absolutely. It's a quicker car. It feels more exhilarating in a straight line. Now, I would have to take this out on track or find some amazing back roads to really push this car and see what it can do. Because the last time I featured a B9.5, I was out in Maine, so I had a bit more wide open spaces. But with this car, though, I think you're going to like its propulsion. You're going to like the fact that it kicks you back in your seat. You're going to love the 7-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission. You're going to love the fact this car feels smooth. I think that is one of the key takeaways here, is that this car, again, feels very well refined. And it's that further refinement that takes away the soul, the heart, and characteristics that we loved about the B8 and B9. And again, that is something we all need to adjust to. But I think the main takeaway here, though, for this car, is it all a bad thing? Is this a bad product? No, it is not. No, it is not. It is better than the Mercedes-Benz C43 simply because we have a V6. But also, even though I don't think performance-wise is better than the BMW M340, this is a car that I think could put a smile on your face, you can enjoy, you can have a lot of fun, and also you have that cargo space as well. This is a Grand Tour. This is not a sports sedan. This is a Grand Tour. And that is something I think a lot of older Audi purists need to get used to. That this is not going to be the B8 and B9 of old. This is not going to be like an S4. This is something a little different. And with all that being said, the S5 with its unique design, its unique characteristics, the fact that it does not feel like a direct lineage to its predecessors, is why this car will ultimately carve out a niche for itself. But in the meantime, do I think that the S5 is the best performance car in the lineup under 80 grand? No, that is the RS3. But I think that's exactly the point here. This is a Grand Tour. It's different than the RS3. This is a car for someone looking for luxury and also refinement, while also having that performance. And this car delivers on all of that. So from the on-road driving perspective, the B10, I approve of. Everything else, I need a lot of time getting used to. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick review for the 2025 Audi S5. If you did, please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more. And I will see you guys next time.